If you like playing those big, expensive mage spells, this is the deck for you. I'm Uncorrupt, and we're going to be taking a deep dive look at Big Spell Mage. I always like to start off with the basics of the deck, and to start off with, we're going to talk about the win condition. So pretty much the win condition of this deck, there's actually maybe two win conditions. First, of course, is just going to be these big spells. We have Arcane Defenders, one of the most recent additions to the deck in the form of a big 8-mana spell, as well as Rune of the Archmage and the Drakefire Amulet that lets us discover a couple of big boy dragons to be able to put onto the board. And typically those spells can overwhelm our opponents, just build an overwhelming board presence with the Drakefire Amulet or Rune of the Archmage, potentially clearing our opponent's board, building a board on our side, putting secrets in play, dealing burn damage to our opponent's face, so on and so forth. And sometimes just the two big 5/6s that can't be targeted by spells are enough to really just put our opponent in a tight spot and give us a way to really be able to find lethal. And the other way that we can potentially win this game is just with the hero card. This card, once it's in play, of course, we can start to buff our hero power. And once the hero power is dealing even just as little as 4 or possibly 5 damage, you shoot that face every time. It's basically a fireball, and you put your opponent on a clock. They have to kill you within a couple of turns, or you potentially just win the game. Taking a look at the rest of the deck, this deck really is a deck that's, the way it's built, really has just a little bit of everything. So looking at the lower mana costs in the deck here, we have the Pelican Diver. This can act as an anti-aggro card. It's also potentially removal. We can play this at a key time when we know that our opponent's going to be putting a minion on the board, and then we can remove a minion potentially up to 4 health. So a little bit of versatility packed in this card, not necessarily just a turn 1 play. Amplified Snow Flurry, this gives us a free hero power. Sometimes that's good in combination with the Magister Dawn Grasp, but also the ability to be able to freeze the target with things like Shockspitter Hunter out in the meta, as well as the Quest Demon Hunter, decks that like punching us in the face with attack from the hero. It's good to just be able to freeze the opposing hero and lock it down. Could also be used to freeze a really big minion, for example, a big rogue minion that was on the board, built from their location. We could freeze it to buy ourselves a turn until we could potentially draw into something to help us be able to remove that. Astalor, really just a good all-purpose card. This baby is in absolutely every deck, and for good reason. It's damage, it's healing, and then it's even more damage on turn 10, especially just being able to finish off your opponent. We have Watch Posts in the deck. This really functions more as almost like an anti-combo card. It's going to be really good against Quest Demon Hunter as well as Miracle Rogue. Just being able to slow down your opponent is going to be valuable really in a lot of matchups, because we need time to be able to get to play our really big spells, since that's how we're most likely planning on winning the game. Mailbog Dancer included in the deck, as it has been for quite a while. Just being able to get that extra coin for ourselves is really beneficial to be able to get some of our bigger minions or spells out a turn earlier. And it also has some good synergy too. By putting this coin into our opponent's hand, sometimes we'll be able to play this Barbaric Sorceress, and we can actually switch the cost of a really big spell with the coin that we've been able to place in our opponent's hand. Make one of these things cost 0. That's just really, really powerful and good for us. We're playing 2 copies of the location here. This is just a board freeze and a minion on the board. Again, it's kind of like an anti-aggro tool, also an anti-stop a big minion from hitting me in the face for a turn tool. And just being able to get out the little 2/2 with the Death Rattle, again, helps us fight for the board early, so we don't necessarily die to aggro decks that are really just going to be coming after our life total early. Blade Master Okani, again, this is just disruption and stall until we can get the more powerful things in our deck. Deepwater Evoker actually affords us some healing in the deck. This card can allow us to gain anywhere from 8 to 10 armor, depending on which spell we hit. And you'll notice we're not playing any cheap spells, so it's guaranteed to be at least an 8 armor heal, as long as we still have spells in the deck to be able to draw. We've included Reckless Apprentice. Reckless Apprentice is in the deck just because it is good board damage, even though it's only going to be 1 damage at a time, unless we have the hero card in play. If you use this on a wider board, it just helps us be able to activate the Mordresh that you're going to see in here at the bottom of the deck. Varden Dawn Grasp, again, this is just stall. We freeze out the board and try to find something better to be able to clear the board, likely in the form of Rune of the Archmage, Mordresh, or a Drakefire Amulet, possibly with some kind of dragon with Brush. Belinda Stonehearth, one of the best cards in the deck. This actually draws 2 of our spells, puts a really big-bodied minion on the board, and makes those spells significantly cheaper. The big mage spells are very powerful, but we don't have time, and we really don't want to be paying full mana cost for them, so Belinda is just another way to be able to cheat those out. Barbaric Sorceress, again, same thing. It actually has a double impact. It can make one of our big spells cheaper so that we can play it the following turn, and it also has the added bonus of making a spell in our opponent's hand really expensive. Again, thinking about things like Miracle Rogue, Quest Demon Hunter, and even Shockspitter Hunter with their 0 mana Devouring Swarm. We make those cards expensive and basically make them unplayable, taking them out of the game, effectively shrinking our opponent's hand by 1 card. Very powerful. And we're also running Grey Sage Parrot. This is just to repeat these big cost spells. They have really powerful effects, and after we play one, we can repeat that effect for the low cost of only 6 mana. So the deck is really, really tightly tuned and does really well. Thinking about the general mulligan for the deck, in our opening hand, we would want to keep Far Watch Post. We would also keep the Mailbox Dancer. That coin can be really valuable to advance our game plan a turn faster. We would also keep the location. Deepwater Evoker is a keep, being able to get a spell in hand so that we have a big spell in hand guaranteed for the Barbaric Sorceress if and when it comes down is really valuable. We also want to keep Belinda Stonehearth. This is actually the #1 mulligan win rate card in the deck. It is insanely strong. If it's in our hand, we want to play it as early as possible. You can actually get it down on turn 4 if you have 2 coins in hand, possibly the coin from going second and a coin from Mailbox Dancer. I'm done talking about the deck. Let's head into the game and check it out. Looks like we're up against Demon Hunter here. That's definitely believable. I've been seeing a lot of Quest Demon Hunters. We're going to keep the Mailbox Dancer and the Barbaric Sorceress. We're going to toss the Parrot. These cards, again, are just priority keeps in the mulligan. We'd also really like to see a Far Watch Post against this deck in particular, just to be able to slow down our opponent. And hopefully we'll be drawing that before we actually get to turn 2. And we see that it is a Demon Hunter, and it's likely is going to be the Quest Demon Hunter. This deck is really popular and really powerful, so we're just going to go ahead and pass turn here. It looks like we're going to have turn 2 Mailbox Dancer into turn 3 Mailbox Dancer. Turn 4 is Deepwater Evoker, unless we draw a spell. If we get one of our big spells, then we're actually going to double coin out the Barbaric Sorceress here, and we'll be able to go ahead and get our big spell in play as early as possible. In this particular matchup, sometimes giving our opponent coins can actually be really bad for us. Our opponent having extra mana to work with in this matchup could be particularly punishing, especially when you're thinking about Lady Sathino coming down and extra coins just to be able to get those attacks. But we see here we've hit Arcane Defender, so I'm going to go ahead and get down this guy, punch face, and then we're going to pass turn. So this game actually lining up really well. Turn 4, we're going to go coin, Barbaric Sorceress, and hopefully we're going to be able to play this big 8 mana spell on turn 5 for something really cheap in terms of mana cost here. And if our opponent actually saves this coin, or if we're able to potentially, one of these minions dies and they get a coin in hand, then we may actually be able to get this down next turn alongside the Barbaric Sorceress if we're able to get it to cost 0. So really powerful potential here. And then looking a little bit farther ahead in the game, we've already got the hero card in hand. This will repeat an arcane spell, so it's going to be a little bit of healing along with an additional arcane defenders. If the game actually goes to 7 turns, typically games against Quest Demon Hunter, I'm sure you know, tend to end a little bit earlier, maybe than other matchups. Certainly a very powerful deck, one of the 2 most powerful decks in the meta, Quest Demon Hunter here, so if we can beat Quest Demon Hunter, or if we can at least see a path to victory, we know that this deck should be able to perform pretty well out on the ladder. Our opponent's still figuring out what they want to do here. Are they going to be able to complete a step of the quest? They are not. They did use the coin, though. The good thing about this deck, we know that with all these cards in hand, we're guaranteed that we're going to be able to hit a spell with Barbaric Sorceress. They actually don't play minions, so we are going to just go ahead, stick to our plan, double coin out the Barbaric Sorceress. And you can see we get a 1 mana Arcane Defenders that we're going to be able to play next turn, so we'll be able to heal, and we're also going to be able to get down the 5/6s. So we also want to think about what spell did we potentially hit from our opponent. 1 mana spells in the Demon Hunter deck, we're likely expecting it could be an Unleash Fel, or it could be one of the Bound Souls. They have 3 Bound Souls, 2 copies of Unleash Fel as far as their 1 mana cards. They also have Sigil of Alacrity, but likely they would have played the Sigil of Alacrity if it was in their hand. So things definitely looking pretty good here right off the bat. We've got our opponent down to 21, still 2 turns before they can heal. And again, if we did manage to hit an Unleash Fel, they may not be able to heal at all. Also, if we hit a Bound Soul, if they can't get the Silver Moon Arcanist, that heal gets significantly smaller. So we're going to put a lot of pressure on the board with the Evoker and the Arcane Defenders next turn. And we're really going to be threatening, hopefully lethal, the following turn, before they get to turn 6 and able to play that Silver Moon Arcanist Unleash Fel combo that they may potentially be sitting on here. So we're going to see what our opponent does. And unfortunately, just a really weak turn. Fortunate for us, unfortunate for our opponent. So we're going to go ahead and draw. And we actually get 10 armor off the Drake Fire Amulet. And then we're going to get down our big taunts, and we are going to push our damage face here. So going into turn 5, our opponent's at 12 health. They're going to have limited options for healing. We have a really nice big board here, so really looking to win this game. It's hard to imagine that our opponent's going to be able to heal and clear all of this. If they do, we're potentially going to be going into turn 6. We're going to find something to do, maybe trade away the Drake Fire Amulet, and then we would play the Magister Dawn Grasp just to get a little bit more healing, and it's going to replay the arcane spell that we played here. And as you can see, just a little bit too strong for the quest Demon Hunter. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Uncorrupt. Good luck out on the ladder.